Bhagavad Gita had a strong influence on Mahatma Gandhiji's personality. No other book or scripture influenced Gandhiji, shaped his character, and transformed his life as profoundly and permanently as did the Bhagavad Gita. He adopted ahimsa under the influence of Gita. Today we are here to present some shloka from Bhagavad Gita. First shloka. chapter 2, verse 47. कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भुर्मा ते सङ्गोऽस्त्वकर्मणे. You have all right to perform your prescribed duties, but you are not entitled to the fruits of our dreams. Never consider yourself to be the cause of the results of your activities, nor be attached to inaction. तेरा कर्म करने में ही अधिकार है, उसके फलों में कभी नहीं. इसलिए तू कर्म के फल का हेतु मत हो तथा तेरा कर्म न करने में भी आसक्ति न हो.
The next sloka, chapter 16, verse 21. Trividam narakasyeedam dwaram nashanamaatmanah kamaha krodhastada lobhastasmadetyayam tyajet. There are three gateways to hell of self-destruction for the soul. There are lust, anger and greed. Therefore, one should abandon these three. कामहा, क्रोध और लाभ, ये तीन प्रकार के नरक के दरवाजों जीवात्मा का पतन करने वाले हैं. इसलिए इन तीनों का त्याग कर देना चाहिए.
Mahatma Gandhi was an ardent follower of Christianity. I'm here to read verses from the Holy Bible, Book Matthew, chapter 5, verses 38 to 48. You have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say to you, do not resist the one who is evil. But if anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to him the other also. And if anyone wants to sue you and take your coat, give your cloak as well. And if anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go with him 2 miles. Give to the one who begs from you, and do not refuse the one who wants to borrow from you. You have heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be the children of your Father in heaven. For he makes the sun rise on the evil and on the good, and sends rain on the righteous and on the unrighteous. For if you love those who love you, what reward do you have? Do not even the tax collectors do the same? And if you greet only your brothers, what more are you doing than others? Do not even the Gentiles do the same? You therefore must be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect. Be careful not to practice your righteousness in front of others to be seen by them. If you do, you will have no reward from your Father in heaven.
Holy Quran had influenced Mahatma Gandhi in many ways. He claimed that he had read the Quran more than once and also many books on Quran and the prophets. According to Mahatma Gandhi, the central teaching of Quran remained that of peace. Mahatma Gandhi was inspired by Holy Quran and adopted that in his Satyagraha. Today I am here to present chapter 103 Al-Asr from Holy Quran. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wal Asr. Innal insana lafi khusr. Illa allazina amanu wa amilus salihati wa tawasaw bil haqq wa tawasaw bis sabr. Meaning, by time, verily, mankind is in loss, except for those who have believed and done righteous deeds, and advised each other to truth, and advised each other to patience.
देती हमें आजाद बिना कड़ग बिना डाल, साबरमती के संत तूने कर दिया कमाल. आंटी में भी जलती रही गांधी तेरी मशाल. देती हमें आजादी बिना कड़ग बिना डाल, साबरमती के संग तूने कर दिया कमाल। धरती पे लड़ी तूने अजब ढंग की लड़ाई, दागी न कहीं तोप न बंदूक चलाई, दुश्मन के किले पर भी न की तूने चढ़ाई, वारे फकीर खूब करामात दिखाई, चुटकी में दुश्मनों को दिया देश से निकाल। दे दी हमें आजादी बिना कड़ग बिना डाल, साबरमती के संग तूने कर दिया कमाल। शतरंग पे जाकर यहाँ पे डात जमाना, लगता था कि मुश्किल है फिरंगी को हराना, टक्कर ते पड़े चोर की दुश्मन भी तताना, पर तू भी तपापू बड़ा उस्ताद पुराना, मारा वो कस के दाव के उल्टी सभी की चाल। दे दी हमें आजादी बिना खड़ग बिना डाल, साबरमती के संग तूने कर दिया कमाल। जब जब तेरा भी गुल बजा जवान चल पड़े, मजदूर चल पड़े थे और किसान चल पड़े, हिंदू मुसलमान सिख पठान चल पड़े, कदमों में तेरी कोड़ी कोड़ी प्राण चल पड़े, फूलों की सेज जोड़ के तोड़े जवाहरलाल। दे दी हमें आजादी बिना कड़ग बिना डाल, साबरमती के संग तूने कर दिया कमाल। मन में दिया हिंसा की लंगन तन पे लंगोटी, लाखों में घूमता तलिए सत्य की सोटी, वैसे तो देखने में थी हस्ती तेरी चोटी, लेकिन तुझे जुगती थी हिमालय की बिचोटी, दुनिया में तू बेजोड़ता इंसान बेमिसाल। देती हमें आजादी बिना कड़ग बिना डाल, साबरमती के संग तूने कर दिया कमाल। आज है 2 अक्टूबर का दिन, आज का दिन है बड़ा महान, आज के भी फूल खिले हैं जिनसे महका हिंदुस्तान। नाम एक का बापू गांधी और एक लाल बहादुर है, एक नारा अमन देश का, जय जवान जय किसान, जय जवान जय किसान, जय जवान जय किसान। बापू जिसने मानवता का दुनिया को संदेश किया, बागडोर भारत की संभाले नेहरू को आदेश दिया, लाल बहादुर जिसने हमको गर्व से जीना सिखलाया, सच पूछो तो गीता का अध्याय उसने दोहराया, जय जवान जय किसान, जय जवान जय किसान। विश्व शांति के हित में देखो सुरवीरों ने किया है त्याग। एक नारा अमन देश में, जय जवान जय किसान, जय जवान जय किसान, जय जवान जय किसान।
Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi was born on 2nd October 1869 at Porbandar on the western coast of India. His grandfather Uttam Chand Gandhi and father Karamchand Gandhi occupied the high office of the Diwan of Porbandar. To be Diwan of one of the princely state was on sinecure. Porbandar was one of the some 100 native states in western India which were ruled by princes whom the accident of birth and the support of the British kept on the throne. To steer one's course safely between wayward princes, the overbearing British political agent of the suzerain power, and the long-suffering subjects required a high degree of patience, diplomatic skill and common sense. Both Uttam Chand Gandhi and Karamchand Gandhi were good administrators, but they were also upright and honorable men. Loyal to their masters, they did not flinch from offering unpalatable service. They paid the price for the courage of their convictions. Uttam Chand Gandhi had his horse besieged and shelled by the ruler's troops and had to flee the states. His son Karamchand Gandhi also preferred to leave Porbandar rather than compromise with his principles.
Gandhiji in youth. Gandhi was a shy and fearful child. Short and spindly, he shied away from athletics, and his lack of physical prowess was matched by his difficulties in school. Though in later years he would read the Bible, Tolstoy and the Bhagavad Gita with great enthusiasm, the young Gandhi labored over the multiplication tables and never rose above academic mediocrity. His religious imagination, which would inspire observers around the world in years to come, was also decidedly limited in his childhood years. His household was a remarkable center of religious diversity. His mother was a devout Hindu, and his father's friends, a diverse group that included Muslims, Parsis, and Jains, often debated religious and philosophical matters in the house. But while many of these ideas that percolated around the young Gandhi found their way into his religious convictions later in life, as a young man he had no religious convictions. In his own words, he found the glitter and pomp of Hindu temples distasteful, and if anything, leaned somewhat towards atheism. In 1885, Karamchand Gandhi passed away, and his relatives decided that the young Mohandas was his most likely successor as head of the family. With that in mind, they agreed that the young man should go to England and study for the bar there, with an English law degree under his belt. They assumed Gandhi would have no difficulty following in his father's footsteps as a local politician. But a journey to Europe was a significant step, and his mother, Putli Bai, worried about the corrupting effect that England would have on her son's morals. To calm her fears, Gandhi swore an oath to avoid wine and meat, and after the family had gathered enough money, he made his way to Bombay to sail for Southampton in England. In Bombay, a remarkable event occurred. The elders of Gandhi's caste, the Modbaniyas, learned of the proposed trip and objected. No member of their caste could go to England, they solemnly declared, because such a trip would involve impurity and Hinduism could not be practiced in Europe. By this point, however, Gandhi was determined to go, and so he allowed himself to be expelled from his caste. For the remainder of his life, he would be outcast.
Gandhiji in South Africa. Before leading the Indian freedom movement, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi used to live in South Africa to fight against injustice and class division. Within 10 years, Gandhi propagated the philosophy of Satyagraha there and propelled the country towards a no class or ethnic discrimination society. Gandhi arrived in Durban aboard SS Safari in 1893. In no time, Gandhi became the leader of the South African Indian community. His involvement in the non-violent movement in South Africa had made such an impact that even now he is looked up to as a leader there. From 1893 to 1914, Gandhi worked as an attorney and a public worker. In a meeting in New Delhi, Gandhi said he was born in India but was made in South Africa. While he was traveling by train to Pretoria, Gandhi, despite carrying first-class ticket, was thrown out of the train by the authorities because a white man complained of an Indian sharing the space with him. As a response, Gandhi formed the Natal Indian Congress in 1894. This organization led non-violent protests against the oppressive treatment of the white people towards the native Africans and Indians. In 1896, he came to India for a short time and gathered 800 Indians to serve along with him in South Africa. They were welcomed by an irate mob and Gandhi was injured in the attack. During the outbreak of the Boer War in 1899, Gandhi gathered around 1,100 Indians and organized the Indian Ambulance Corps for the British, but the ethnic discrimination and torture continued on Indians. English artist John Ruskin's book Unto This Last inspired Gandhi and he set up Phoenix Farm near Durban. Here, Gandhi would train his cadres on non-violent satyagraha or peaceful restraint. Phoenix Farm is considered as the birthplace of satyagraha. However, it was the Tolstoy Farm, Gandhi's second camp in South Africa, where satyagraha was molded into a weapon of protest. In September 1906, Gandhi organized the first satyagraha campaign to protest against the Transvaal Asiatic Ordinance that was constituted against the local Indians. Again, in June 1907, he held satyagraha against the Black Act. In 1908, he was sentenced to jail for organizing the non-violent movements. But after his meeting with General Smuts, a British Commonwealth statesman, he was released. However, he was later attacked for this and was again sentenced to jail, against which he organized satyagraha again. In 1909, he was sentenced to a 3-month jail term in Foxcroft and Pretoria. After his release, Gandhi went to England to seek the assistance of the Indian community there. He also fought against the nullification of non-Christian marriages in 1913. Gandhi organized another powerful resistance campaign in Transvaal against the oppression that Indian miners were suffering from. He led around 2,000 Indians across the Transvaal border. In 1915, Gandhiji returned from South Africa to live in India. Thank you.
Mahatma Gandhi was known for his non-violence protest and was a leading figure of freedom movements whether in India or South Africa. His non-violent ways and peaceful methods were the foundation for gaining independence from the British. Mahatma Gandhi opposed colonialism and its human rights violation through the unique concept of ahimsa or non-violence. As Gandhiji quoted, "Ahimsa is the highest duty. Even if we cannot practice it in full, we must try to understand its spirit and refrain as far as is humanly possible from violence." The Quit India movement, also known as the August movement, was a movement launched at the Bombay session of the All India Congress Committee by Mahatma Gandhi on 8th August 1942 during the World War II, demanding an end to British rule in India. After the failure of the Cripps mission to secure Indian support for the British war effort, Gandhi made a call to do or die in his Quit India speech delivered in Bombay on 8th August 1942. The Dandi March. It was initiated under the stewardship of Mahatma Gandhi.
The non-cooperation movement was a political campaign launched on 4 September 1920 by Mahatma Gandhi to have Indians revoke their cooperation from the British government with the aim of inducing the British to grant self-governance and full independence to India. The movement was one of Gandhiji's first organized acts of large-scale satyagraha. Gandhiji's planning of the non-cooperation movement included persuading all Indians to withdraw their labor from any activity that sustained the British government and also economy in India. Gandhiji's non-cooperation movement called for the restoration of the Khilafat movement in Turkey and the end to untouchability. This resulted in publicly held meetings and strikes which led to the first arrests of both Nehruji and his father Motilal Nehru. Though intended to be non-violent, the movement was eventually called off by Gandhiji in Feb 1922 following the Chauri Chaura incident. Non-cooperation movement also came as a result of the Indian National Congress withdrawing its support for British reforms following the Rowlatt Act of 18 March 1919. The Rowlatt Act was passed by the British government to increase their grip on power over the common folk. This law was passed in March 1919 by the Imperial Legislative Council, which gave them the power to arrest any person without any trial. To abolish this act, Gandhiji and the other leaders called for a hartal to show Indians' objection to this rule, called the Rowlatt Satyagraha. Next comes the Champaran Satyagraha of 1916, which was the first Satyagraha movement led by Mahatma Gandhi in India and is considered a historically important rebellion in the Indian freedom struggle. It was a farmers' uprising that took place in Champaran district of Bihar in India during the British colonial period. The farmers were protesting against having to grow indigo with barely any payment for it. The Champaran Satyagraha gave direction to India's youth and freedom struggle.
Gandhi was primarily a man of religion. His religion was based on truth, love, and non-violence. It is his religion that became his philosophy of life, and it gave him strength. Gandhi expressed the opinion that religion can become a basis for friendship among all mankind. He strongly believed that religion does not teach mutual enmity. He considered different religions as different roads going towards the same destination. Gandhi, out of his own experiences, came to the conclusion that all religions are based on same principles, namely truth and love. Gandhi believed in the concept of Sarva Dharma Sambhava, which means equal respect for all creeds and faiths. But he very clearly stated that equal regard does not mean that one should adopt others' religion. According to Gandhi, the main aim of religion is to make a one-on-one interaction between God and humans. He perceived God through the service of humanity, because God lives in the heart of every human being.
Mahatma Gandhi was a true social worker fighting against the evils of society. Truth, non-violence, Sarvodaya, Satyagraha, and their significance constitute Gandhian philosophy. Mahatma Gandhi was a social reformer, politician, preacher, lawyer, and a freedom fighter who waged a long war to end colonialism and sought to end the long-lasting Hindu-Muslim divide and caste-based discrimination in the country. Mahatma Gandhi led nationwide campaigns for easing poverty, expanding women's rights, building religious and ethnic amity, ending untouchability, and above all, achieving Swaraj. Mahatma Gandhi's main contribution towards society is that he emphasized on the importance of Indian education. Gandhi's aim for education was the complete development of physical, spiritual, and moral faculties of man. Mahatma Gandhi was one of the pioneers of environmental sustainability. The quintessential Gandhian question, how much should a person consume, still rings true today. Gandhi was the driving force behind the environmental movement. Mahatma Gandhi played an important role in expanding women's rights. According to him, woman is companion of man and gifted with equal rights of freedom and liberty. Mahatma Gandhi was the first man to encourage participation of women in politics. He also played a very significant role in supporting upliftment of untouchables. He called them Harijan, meaning the children of God. He made it his life's mission to wipe out untouchability and to uplift the oppressed and downtrodden people. Apart from this, he initiated a vast multitude of changes in the society. He changed the views.
Non-violence. Gandhi preached and practiced non-violence. He held the view that without truth and non-violence, there can be nothing but destruction of humanity. Gandhi said, "Ahimsa is the first article of my faith. It is also the last article of my creed." Gandhi took the religious principle of ahimsa, doing no harm, common to Buddhism, Hinduism, and Jainism, and turned into a non-violent tool for mass action. He used it to fight not only colonial rule but social evils such as racial discrimination and untouchability as well. Sarvodaya or welfare for all. The basic fundamental teaching of the Vedic science is also based on Sarvodaya. It talks about Bahujan Hite, Bahujan Sukhe, the good of the masses, the benefit of the masses. Gandhi found in it a composite concept of welfare and economic justice. Any action which is aimed and seems to be aimed at the welfare of the people will be accepted by all. Anti-casteism. Gandhi's stand on caste changed over the years. Although eradication of untouchability was one of his passions, he remained an advocate of caste system for long. For instance, in 1921, he wrote in his journal Navajivan, "If Hindu society has been able to stand, it is because it is founded on the caste system." While being an admirer of the caste system, he believed that there should be no hierarchy between castes and that all castes should be considered equal.
Gandhiji's concept of Satyagraha. Gandhiji's concept of Satyagraha is an exceptional and novel way to resist evil. This is the heart and soul of the entire Gandhian theory and philosophy, and his exclusive contribution to the modern Indian political thought. Through this mechanism, Gandhi aimed at resisting any kind of unjust, impure, or untruthful acts. This concept also aims at furtherance of love and self-purification. Satyagraha can be regarded as a vindication of truth by taking self-suffering in the form of love. It is the weapon of the bravest and strongest. It is an antidote for the coercion. It was believed that Satyagraha enables elevation of spiritual and moral qualities of an individual. The main function of Satyagraha is not to injure the enemy by any means. It is an appeal to the enemy either through a reason or by a gentle rational argument. The concept of Satyagraha advocates that it is through suffering that there are achievements. The ultimate aim of Satyagraha is to achieve success despite its extreme sufferings with cheerfulness and love, unlike passive resistance that is undertaken in a situation of weakness or despair. Ultimately, Satyagraha offers a substantial and effective opposition to injustice and tyranny in comparison to passive resistance. Gandhiji's views on truth. Of all the moral principles, Gandhi placed truth as the first and foremost. He called it the sovereign principle, which included numerous other principles. It did not merely imply truthfulness in speech, but in thought also. and not only the relative truth of our conception, but the absolute truth, the eternal principle that is God. He equated God with truth. As he says, I worship God as truth only. I have not yet found him, but I am seeking after him. I am prepared to sacrifice the things dearest to me in pursuit of this quest. Often in my progress, I have had faint glimpses of the absolute truth, God. And daily, the conviction is growing upon me that the above is real and all else is unreal. Gandhi's conception of truth has obviously not the common meaning attributed to it, for there were divine and philosophical dimensions to it. It can perhaps be said that the predominant factor in molding his vision of truth was his deep attachment to the epic Ramacharitmanas written by Tulasidas and his faith in Ramanama.
Allah